I never thought my life would turn into one of those stories people scroll past on social media, wide-eyed, unable to look away. But here we are. My name is Elena, or at least that's what we'll call me for this story. 3 years ago, everything felt like it was falling into place in the most beautiful way possible. I met Alex at a rooftop networking event in downtown Chicago. I was 28, working as a graphic designer for a mid-sized agency, living in a tiny but cute apartment in Wicker Park. He was 30, tall, dark-haired, with that quiet confidence that comes from growing up knowing money was never going to be a problem. His family owned a chain of upscale boutique hotels across the Midwest. Nothing obscene like private jets, but enough that people noticed the difference. The first time we spoke, I spilled my drink on his shoe. Classic meet cute, right? He laughed, handed me a napkin, and said, "I've had worse things happen to these shoes. I'm Alex." By the end of the night, we ditched the event and ended up at a 24-hour diner, talking until the sun came up. He told me about growing up in a big house in the suburbs, about the pressure of being the only son expected to carry on the legacy. I told him about growing up in a loud, chaotic family of 5 kids where love was abundant but money was always tight. We balanced each other. I brought color and spontaneity into his structured world. He brought stability and calm into mine. 6 months in, he asked me to move into his condo overlooking the lake. I said yes before he finished the sentence. His family was polite. His parents, Richard and Diane, lived in a sprawling home in Winnetka. His older sister, Claire, was married to a surgeon and always perfectly put together. His younger brother, Ryan, was the fun one, perpetual bachelor, always cracking jokes. They welcomed me at first. Diane hugged me a little too tightly at our first dinner and said, "We've been waiting for Alex to bring someone special home." Richard asked about my job, my degree, my 5-year plan. I thought it was normal rich people vetting. There were small moments I brushed off. Claire asking casually if I'd signed a prenup yet, even though we weren't engaged. Ryan joking that I must be with Alex for the hotel discounts. Diane commenting on how ambitious I seemed for someone from my background. I laughed it all off. Love makes you forgiving. Then came the weekend in Door County. Alex rented a little cabin on the water. We drank wine on the dock, watched the stars, and he got down on one knee with a ring that made my heart stop. It wasn't huge or flashy, just perfect. I cried. He cried. We called our families the next morning. His parents insisted on throwing an engagement party. I was overwhelmed but grateful. That's when the first real crack appeared. I started feeling off. Nothing dramatic at first, just bone-deep tiredness. I'd sleep 10 hours and still feel like I hadn't rested. My appetite vanished. I lost 10 pounds in a month without trying. Alex noticed. "You're working too hard," he said, kissing my forehead. "Let's get you to a doctor." I made an appointment. Blood work, more blood work, a scan. I told myself it was stress, wedding planning, new job projects, normal stuff. The day the doctor called, Alex and I were painting the second bedroom in our condo, planning to turn it into an office for me. My phone rang. Unknown number. I stepped into the hallway. "Elena, we need you to come in tomorrow. The results, we should discuss them in person." I don't remember hanging up. I don't remember walking back into the room. I just remember Alex's face when I told him. The paint roller slipping from his hand. The way he pulled me into his arms like he could shield me from whatever was coming. Little did I know, this diagnosis would turn my love story into a nightmare. The diagnosis came on a Tuesday in early spring. Stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. The oncologist was kind but direct. Very treatable, excellent prognosis with chemotherapy and possibly radiation. "You're young, healthy otherwise. This is going to be tough, but we're going to beat it." Alex held my hand the entire appointment. He didn't let go once. We told my family first. My mom cried, then immediately went into planning mode, meal trains, who would drive me to treatments. My siblings sent group texts full of memes and love. It was chaotic and loud and perfect. Then we told his family. We drove out to Winnetka that weekend. Diane made her famous lasagna. Everyone was there. Claire and her husband, Ryan, even Aunt Linda, who always smelled like expensive perfume. Alex broke the news after dinner. Silence. Then Diane reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Oh, honey, we're so sorry." Richard nodded solemnly. Claire said, "Whatever you need, we're here." Ryan cracked an awkward joke about losing his hair in solidarity. It felt supportive. It felt like family. But over the next weeks, things shifted in ways I couldn't quite name. The first round of chemo hit me like a truck. I was sick constantly. My hair started falling out in clumps. Alex was incredible. He took leave from work, held my hair back, made ginger tea, played my favorite playlists when I couldn't sleep. His family sent flowers, a fruit basket, a card signed by everyone. Then the questions started. Claire texted, "Have they done a second opinion? Sometimes these diagnoses are wrong." Diane called Alex, not me. "Is she eating? She looked so thin at the engagement party." Richard emailed Alex a link to an alternative treatment center in Mexico. I tried not to be sensitive. People process shock differently, I told myself. But then came the dinner. Diane invited us over for a light meal, nothing heavy. I was 2 rounds into chemo, balled under a soft beanie 20 pounds lighter. I didn't want to go, but Alex said it would mean a lot to his mom. The table was set beautifully. Everyone was there again. Conversations started normal, wedding venues, hotel expansions. Then Diane set down her wine glass and looked at me. "Elena, forgive me for asking, but how much is treatment costing? I mean, really?" I blinked. A lot. Insurance covers most, but there are co-pays, medications." Richard jumped in. "We'd be happy to help financially, of course, but we'd need to see the bills, for tax purposes." Alex stiffened beside me. "Dad, we're fine." Ryan laughed nervously. "Come on, man, they're just trying to help." Claire added quietly, "It's just, this all happened so suddenly, after the engagement. The room felt too warm. I excused myself to the bathroom. When I came back, they were talking in low voices. Diane stopped mid-sentence when she saw me. Later, driving home, Alex was quiet. "What were they saying?" I asked. "Nothing. Just worried about money stuff." That night, I woke up around 3 a.m. to pee. Alex wasn't in bed. I padded down the hallway and saw light under his office door. He was on the phone, whispering. "I know, Mom, but she's sick. Really sick. The doctors..." Pause. "No, I haven't seen anyone going through her mail. That's crazy." Pause. "I get it, you're protecting me, but accusing her of..." He stopped when he saw me in the doorway. "I have to go," he said into the phone. I stood there, heart pounding. "Accusing me of what?" He looked exhausted. "Nothing. They're just scared. They think someone might take advantage." "Of what? My devastating good looks and bald head?" He tried to smile. "Of me. Of us. The money." I went back to bed. Couldn't sleep. 2 days later, I collapsed in our kitchen. Couldn't breathe. Alex rushed me to the ER, pneumonia on top of everything else. While I was admitted, he went home to get my things. When he came back, his face was white. "What happened?" He sat down heavily. "My mom called. They hired someone, a private investigator, to look into you." I stared at him. "Into me? Into your medical history, your finances. They think..." He couldn't finish. "They think what, Alex?" He looked away. "They think you might be exaggerating. Or worse." The monitor beeped steadily beside me. I closed my eyes. That's when I knew this wasn't going to be just about fighting cancer anymore. The private investigator. Those 3 words hung in the hospital room like smoke. Thick, choking, impossible to ignore. Alex sat on the plastic chair beside my bed, head in his hands. The IV dripped steadily into my arm, pumping antibiotics for the pneumonia that had landed me here. I was weak, feverish, bald, and now this. "Say it again," I whispered. He looked up. His eyes were red. "My parents hired someone, a week ago, to dig into your background, medical records, finances, social media, everything." I laughed. It came out bitter and broken. "Because they think I'm what, a con artist with a fake cancer scheme?" He flinched. "They're scared. The engagement, the timing of your illness, they think someone could be taking advantage." "Someone. Not me, just someone." He didn't answer. That night, alone in the dim room while Alex went home to shower, I stared at the ceiling. Every beep of the monitor felt like a countdown. I thought about my life before Alex. The student loans still lingering, the credit card debt from helping my mom after Dad's heart attack, the modest savings I'd scraped together. Nothing dramatic, nothing that screamed gold digger. But to them, I was an outsider. A threat. I got discharged 3 days later. Alex drove me home in silence. When we pulled into the garage, he finally spoke. I told them to call it off. "Did they?" "I think so." He didn't sound convinced. Treatment continued. 4 more rounds of chemo scheduled. My oncologist adjusted the plan, added supportive meds. Friends rallied. My best friend Mia moved in temporarily to help. She cooked bland food I could keep down, binge-watched trashy reality shows with me, held my hand during the worst nights. Alex's family kept their distance. No more dinners. No more texts from Claire asking about second opinions. Then the anonymous messages started. The first one came on Instagram from an account with no photo and a random string of numbers. Hope you're feeling better. Just curious, have you always had symptoms or did they start after the engagement? I showed Alex, he blocked it. 2 days later, another one. Different account. Some cancers are psychosomatic. Stress can cause a lot. Wedding planning is stressful, right? Mia found one in my Facebook messages. Be careful with those medical bills. Insurance fraud is serious. I started screenshotting everything. Something told me I'd need proof. One afternoon, while Alex was at a quick work meeting, I went through our mail on the kitchen counter. Bills, mostly. Chemo wasn't cheap, even with insurance. Tucked between an EOB and a credit card statement was an envelope addressed to Alex. No return address. Thick paper. I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. Inside was a printed report. Professional letterhead. Confidential background investigation, Alina Marie Thompson. Pages of my life laid bare. My childhood address in a working-class suburb. My parents' divorce records. My college transcripts. Screenshots of old social media posts complaining about being broke. Bank statements. How did they get those? Showing transfers to my mom. And then the medical section. Hospital visits from years ago. A broken wrist from rollerblading. An appendectomy at 22. Nothing suspicious. But highlighted in yellow, a note from the investigator. Subject has history of anxiety and somatic complaints. See attached therapy notes 2021. No prior cancer indicators. Sudden onset post-engagement raises questions. Attached were therapy notes. From sessions I'd had during a rough patch at work, notes I'd never shared with anyone but my therapist. They'd accessed sealed medical records. I sat on the floor and cried. Not the quiet tears of sadness. This was rage, raw and shaking. When Alex came home, I shoved the report at him. He read it in silence. Page after page. Finally, I didn't know, but you knew they were investigating. I told them to stop. They didn't. He called his mother right then, on speaker. Diane answered cheerfully. Hi, sweetheart. You went too far, he said, voice flat, dangerous. Pause. We're protecting you, Alex. You'll thank us later. You broke the law. This is illegal. Don't be dramatic. We have connections. It's all above board. Call it off. Now, or I'm done. Another pause. You're choosing her over your family? I'm choosing what's right. He hung up. That night he held me while I shook. I'm so sorry, he kept saying, but something had shifted. A crack. Small, but there. I started keeping the proof folder, medical records, screenshots, the investigator's report, just in case. Summer came, hot and heavy. My hair was gone. My body was a stranger, thin, bruised, exhausted. But the scans were promising. Tumors shrinking. Excellent response, my doctor said. Alex tried. He really did. He cooked, he cleaned, he went to every appointment. But I could feel him pulling away. Not from me, from them. He'd disappear into his office for long calls. Come out looking drained. One night I overheard part of one. I know you're worried, Claire, but she's dying in there. Actually dying. This isn't an act. Pause. No, I haven't asked her to sign anything. I'm not going to. Pause. Because I love her, and I trust her. He saw me listening and ended the call. They want me to ask you to sign a post-nup, he said quietly. Saying you won't go after the family trust if I'm faking it and we divorce later? He nodded. I laughed again, that same broken sound. Tell them I'll sign it the day they take a polygraph saying they believe I'm sick. He didn't tell them that. Instead, things got quieter. I started writing. At first, just a private journal, then a blog, anonymous, called Bald and Broken. I wrote about the nausea, the fear, the way people look at you differently when you're bald in public, the way love feels when it's tested. People found it. Comments poured in. This could be me. You're so strong. My sister went through this. Thank you for saying the hard parts. It became my lifeline. Alex read it sometimes, said he was proud. But his family? They hated it. Diane called him. She's airing private matters online for attention. Claire, people will think our family is awful if they connect the dots. Ryan, drunk one night, left a voicemail. Tell your girlfriend to stop playing victim. Some of us have real problems. I saved that too. Then came the intervention. Alex got a text from his dad. Family meeting. Urgent. Come alone. He went. Came back 4 hours later. Face gray. They sat him down. Parents, Claire, Ryan, even Aunt Linda, showed him evidence. My old therapy notes blown up on a screen. Screenshots of my blog posts about money stress before meeting Alex. A timeline. Engagement announced. Symptoms start. Diagnosis. A doctor friend of Richard's, not an oncologist, who said Munchausen isn't unheard of in these situations. They told Alex I was manipulating him, that the wedding should be postponed, that he should move out temporarily until I got help. They had papers ready, a post-nup, an NDA for me to sign saying I wouldn't speak about the family publicly. And worst, a suggestion he freeze joint accounts. He came home and told me everything. I listened. Didn't cry this time. Just asked one question. Do you believe them? He looked at me. Really looked. No, he said. I know you. I've seen you throw up blood. I've held you when you couldn't stand. This is real. But his voice cracked on the last word, and that's when I knew. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. That night, I added another document to my proof folder, a new scan report, fresh from that morning, clearer shrinkage. Doctor's note, patient tolerating treatment well despite significant emotional stress. I stared at it for a long time. Then I emailed myself a copy, and another to Mia, and one to my mom, just in case. Because deep down I knew they weren't going to stop. And the next time they accused me, I'd be ready. Fall arrived with a cruel kind of beauty, leaves turning golden red while my body continued to betray me. I was halfway through treatment. The worst of the chemo side effects had become routine. The metallic taste in my mouth, the constant bone-deep ache, the days when even lifting a water glass felt impossible. But the scans kept improving. My oncologist used the word remarkable at my last appointment. You're responding better than most, she said. Keep fighting. Alex came with me to every scan, every infusion. He'd stopped taking his parents' calls in front of me. He'd started sleeping poorly, dark circles under his eyes that matched mine. We postponed the wedding, indefinitely. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew why. Thanksgiving was approaching. Diane texted Alex, "Come for the holiday, bring Alina if she's up to it. We miss you both." He showed me the message. I wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed no. But I was tired of hiding, tired of letting them think they'd scared me into silence. "Let's go," I said, "one last time." He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Are you sure? I need to see their faces when they pretend everything's fine." He didn't argue. The day came cold and gray. I wore a soft knit cap Mia had bought me, soft gray cashmere that didn't irritate my scalp. Alex helped me into the car like I was made of glass. The drive to Winnetka felt longer than ever. When we pulled up, the house looked perfect as always. Wreath on the door, lights in the windows, Diane's luxury SUV parked out front next to Claire's Range Rover and Ryan's Porsche. Diane opened the door before we knocked, hugged Alex tightly, then me, careful, like I might break. "You look better," she said. It didn't sound like a compliment. Inside smelled like turkey and sage. Football played on the massive TV. Richard waved from his armchair. Claire and her husband Mark were in the kitchen. Ryan was mixing drinks. It felt almost normal, almost. Dinner was served at the long mahogany table. 12 people total, family friends included to keep things light, Diane explained. Conversation stayed surface level. Work, travel plans, the new hotel opening in Milwaukee. I picked up my food. Chemo had killed my appetite again. Then Richard cleared his throat. "Alex, your mother and I have been talking. We'd like to make a toast." Everyone raised glasses. "To family," Richard said, "and to health, especially Elena's continued recovery." Glasses clinked. I smiled weakly. That's when Claire set her glass down harder than necessary. "Actually," she said, "since we're all here, there's something we need to discuss." The room quieted. Alex tensed beside me. Claire looked at me directly. "Elena, we're worried about you, about all of this." Diane jumped in. "Sweetheart, we've been reading about factitious disorders. It's more common than people think, especially in certain situations." I felt the blood drain from my face. Ryan snorted. "Come on, guys." "No." Claire cut him off. "We need to say it, for Alex's sake." Richard nodded. "We've seen the investigators' reports. The timing, the blog posts about money stress right before you met Alex, the therapy notes." "Stop," Alex said, voice low. But Diane kept going. We're not monsters, Elena. We just want the truth. If you're struggling mentally, we can get you real help, the best facilities, whatever it takes. I looked around the table, family friends staring at their plates, Mark looking uncomfortable, Aunt Linda nodding along like this was reasonable. I turned to Alex. He was staring at his mother. Say something, I whispered. He opened his mouth, closed it. That's when Diane delivered the killing blow. She looked me dead in the eyes. I know you're faking cancer for our money. The words landed like a slap. Silence. Complete, deafening silence. I felt every eye on me. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. Alex finally spoke. Mom, that's enough. But Diane wasn't done. We have proof, or lack of it. Your medical records are suspiciously incomplete. The alternative treatment centers we contacted said they've seen cases like this. Enough. Alex stood so fast his chair scraped back. I stayed seated. Everyone waited for my meltdown, for tears, for denial. But something snapped inside me, not broken, hardened. I reached into my oversized tote bag, the one I'd brought specifically for this moment. I pulled out the thick folder I'd been building for months. Medical records, scan images, lab results, doctor's letters, timestamps, everything. I set it on the table with a soft thud. Then I looked at Diane. Not angry, calm, dead calm. You want proof? I said quietly. The room went even quieter. I opened the folder slowly. First page, my original biopsy report, Hodgkin's lymphoma confirmed, signed by the pathologist. Second, PET scan from diagnosis, tumors lit up like Christmas lights. Third, progress scans, tumors shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. I slid them across the table toward Diane. She didn't touch them. Claire leaned forward. These could be forged, I finished. Go ahead, call my oncologist, Dr. Sarah Chen at Northwestern. Here's her direct line. I placed a printed email on top. Dr. Chen confirming my diagnosis and treatment plan, dated yesterday. Richard cleared his throat. Anyone can get a doctor to write something. I pulled out the next set. Hospital admission records from my pneumonia stay. Blood cultures, chest x-rays, then the big one. I turned to Alex. He hadn't sat back down. He was staring at the papers like they were foreign objects. I pulled out the sealed envelope from my oncologist, delivered to me personally that week. Inside, full-color printouts of my most recent PET scan. Clean, no active disease. Remission, I said quietly. Preliminary, pending final confirmation. But the tumors are gone. I laid the images out like playing cards, one by one. You could hear breathing in the room. Diane's face had gone pale. Claire's mouth opened, closed. Ryan stared at his drink. I wasn't done. I pulled out my phone, opened the anonymous messages screenshots, one after another. The Instagram DMs, the Facebook messages, the email from a burner account. People who fake cancer go to prison. I turned the phone so everyone could see. These started right after you hired your investigator, I said, looking at Richard. He didn't meet my eyes. Then the final piece. I pulled out the printed investigator's report, the one I'd found in our mail. The one with my sealed therapy notes. I placed it on top of everything else. This, I said, is illegal. HIPAA violation, invasion of privacy. I've already consulted a lawyer. Complete silence. No one moved. I looked at Diane. You wanted to know if I'm faking it for your money? I paused. Let it sink in. Then look at this one thing. I tapped the remission scan. Look at it. Diane finally reached out. Her hand shook as she picked up the image. She stared at it for a long time. Claire leaned over to see. Ryan muttered, "Holy shit." Alex finally sat down. Hard. I waited. For apologies, for explanations, for anything. But for a long moment, no one knew what to say next. The turkey sat cooling on the table. The football game droned in the background, and 12 people stared at medical proof that I had almost died. That I had fought. That I had won. While they'd accused me of lying. Diane set the scan down carefully. Her eyes met mine. There was something in them. Shock, yes. But something else too. Something that looked a lot like fear. Because in that moment, they all realized I wasn't going anywhere. And I had everything documented. Every word, every message, every illegal investigation. The power had shifted, and they knew it. Alex reached for my hand under the table. I didn't take it. Not yet. The silence stretched. Finally, Richard cleared his throat again. Well, he said weakly, this is good news about the remission. No one responded. I started gathering my papers, slowly, methodically. When I finished, I stood. Thank you for dinner, I said politely. Then I looked at Diane one last time. Next time you want to accuse someone of faking cancer, maybe ask yourself why you're so willing to believe they are. I walked toward the door. Alex followed. No one stopped us. In the car, he didn't start the engine right away. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I should have. "Not now," I said. I stared out the window at their perfect house. The wreath on the door suddenly looked ridiculous. Fake, like everything inside, but one thing was real. I was alive, and I had the proof. All of it. The question now wasn't whether I'd survive cancer. It was whether I'd survive them. The drive home from Thanksgiving was silent for the first 20 minutes. Snow had started to fall. Light, lazy flakes that melted as soon as they hit the windshield. Alex kept both hands on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road. I stared out the passenger window, the folder of proof heavy in my lap like a shield. Finally, he spoke. I didn't know it would go that far. I didn't respond. I should have stopped them sooner. Still nothing. "Elena, please say something." I turned to him. "What do you want me to say, Alex? That it's okay? That watching your entire family accuse me of faking a life-threatening illness, at Thanksgiving dinner no less, is just a little misunderstanding?" He flinched. "No," he said quietly. "I want you to say you don't hate me." I looked away. The truth was, I didn't know what I felt. Anger, yes. Betrayal, absolutely. But hate, not yet. And that scared me more than anything. We got home. I went straight to the bedroom, changed into pajamas, and crawled under the covers. Alex hovered in the doorway. "I'm gonna stay at a hotel tonight," he said. "Give you space." I didn't stop him. The next morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk." Alone. Claire, I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied, "Coffee. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the place on Oak Street. Neutral territory." She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a black coffee untouched in front of her. She looked like she hadn't slept. Perfect makeup couldn't hide the dark circles. I slid in across from her. For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then she pushed a folder across the table, smaller than mine. "I owe you an apology," she said, voice low. I didn't open it. "I was wrong," she continued. "About everything. When you showed those scans, I've never felt so awful in my life." I waited. She took a shaky breath. "But there's more, and you deserve to know why I was so ready to believe the worst." She nudged the folder closer. I opened it. Inside, old newspaper clippings, legal documents, a trust agreement, headlines from 20 years ago. Hotel heiress scammed by fiancé in elaborate fraud scheme. Family loses millions to con artist posing as terminally ill. The woman in the grainy photo looked eerily like me, young, brunette, smiling next to a much older Richard at a gala. "Dad's first fiancée," Claire said. "Before Mom, she faked leukemia, drained his accounts, vanished with over $3 million. He almost lost the business." I scanned the articles, forged medical records, fake treatments in Mexico, a GoFundMe that raised hundreds of thousands. It was textbook. "Dad never got over it," Claire said. "He rebuilt everything, married Mom, had us, but the paranoia stayed. When you got sick right after the engagement." She trailed off. I closed the folder. "So this was about your father's trauma, not me." "At first, yes, but then it became about protecting the trust. There's a clause. If Alex marries and something happens, divorce, death, the spouse could claim part of the family holdings. Dad changed it after the scam, made it ironclad, but he's been obsessed with making sure no one ever gets close again." I leaned back. "And you all decided I was her, version 2.0. Claire's eyes filled. "I did. God, I did. I pushed it. I found the investigator. I sent some of those anonymous messages." I felt ice in my veins. "You?" She nodded. "Not all. Ryan sent a few when he was drunk. Mom sent the really nasty ones, but I started it." She wiped her eyes quickly, like embarrassed to be seen crying. "I'm disgusting," she whispered. "You were dying, and I was terrified of losing money." Silence. "Then, but when I saw your scans, when Dr. Chen's office confirmed everything yesterday, I realized I'd become the monster. Not you." I didn't comfort her. I didn't forgive her. I just asked, "Why tell me now?" "Because Dad's not done. He's lawyering up, wants to challenge the validity of your relationship, claim undue influence or something. He thinks if he can prove coercion or fraud, even after the proof, he can block you from any future claim." I laughed. Cold. "Let him try." Claire looked up. "There's one more thing." She slid a USB drive across the table. "Recordings from the intervention. From family meetings after you left Thanksgiving, Dad saying things, ugly things, about paying doctors to change records, about how people like you always have a price. I stared at the drive. Insurance. More proof. I took it. Thank you, I said. It wasn't absolution, but it was something. The fallout came fast. Alex moved back in 2 days later. He'd spent the time at his sister's. Claire had apparently told him everything too. He walked in with flowers and a suitcase and eyes that begged for forgiveness. I let him in. We didn't hug. We sat at the kitchen table instead. He told me he'd confronted his parents, that Richard had denied everything at first, then blamed Diane, then blamed the trauma from the past, that Diane had cried and said she only wanted to protect her baby, that Ryan had laughed it off as just being cautious. Alex said he told them he was done. No more holidays, no more contact, until they made it right, properly, publicly. I listened. Then I showed him the USB drive. We listened together. Richard's voice, calm and calculated. If we can create enough doubt, any future claim collapses. I have friends at the hospital foundation. People owe me. Diane, she's not family, never was. Honestly, bro, you could do better, sick or not. Alex's face went through stages, shock, rage, grief. When it ended, he stood up and punched the wall, hard. Knuckles bled. I didn't stop him. After, he sat on the floor and cried. Not quiet tears, sobs, the kind that come from realizing your entire foundation was rotten. I sat beside him, didn't touch him, but I stayed. The next week was strange. Quiet. His family didn't call. No apologies, no texts, just silence. I finished treatment, final scan, complete remission. My oncologist hugged me. Mia threw a small party. Just us, my family, a few close friends. Alex came, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I started writing again. This time, not anonymously. I posted on my blog, now with my real name, about the accusation, about the proof, about the silence after. I didn't name them, but I didn't hide the truth. The post went viral. Thousands of shares, messages poured in from other cancer patients who'd been doubted, from partners who'd watched families turn toxic, from strangers saying, "Thank you for saying this out loud." Media reached out, podcasts, local news. I said no to most. But one, a national women's health advocate, felt right. I did the interview, told the story, still no names, but the details were unmistakable. That's when the first apology came, not from Richard or Diane, from Ryan. A text. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm an asshole. Short, drunk probably, but it was something. Then Claire called, asked to meet again. This time, she brought her husband Mark. He looked ashamed too. They apologized. Properly. Claire cried again. Said she'd started therapy, that she'd told their parents they were wrong, that she'd never forgive herself. Mark said he'd stayed silent at Thanksgiving and hated himself for it. I listened. I said thank you, but I didn't say I forgave them. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Alex started therapy too. We started couples counseling. The counselor asked hard questions. Did I trust him? Did he trust himself? Could we rebuild on this ground? We didn't have answers, but we showed up every week. Then, right before Christmas, a letter arrived, handwritten, from Diane, pages long, apologizing, explaining, not excusing the fear, the trauma, the protectiveness gone wrong, admitting she'd sent messages, that she'd pushed the investigator, that seeing my scans had broken something in her. She ended with, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I see you now. Really see you, and I'm so sorry." Alex read it and cried again. Richard didn't sign it. His name wasn't mentioned. The silence from him was loudest of all. We spent Christmas with my family. Loud, chaotic, full of love, no conditions. Alex fit in better than ever. One night, tipsy on my mom's eggnog, he pulled me aside. "I'm selling my share of the hotels," he said. I stared. "What?" "I talked to a lawyer. I can force a buyout, walk away clean, start something new, with you if you'll have me." I didn't answer right away. Too much had happened, but I took his hand. "We'll see," I said. He nodded. Understood. The silence from his family continued, but something had changed. It wasn't forgiveness. It was acceptance. They'd lost him. Maybe forever. And they knew it. But one question still lingered. Richard's silence wasn't empty. It was calculating. And deep down, I knew. He wasn't finished. Not yet. January hit like a reset button. New year, new hair, soft fuzz growing back, dark and curly. New strength. My energy was returning in waves. I could walk around the block without stopping. I could cook a full meal without needing to sit down halfway through. Remission felt real now. Not just scans. my body. But the emotional remission? That was slower. Alex and I were careful with each other. We talked in therapy. We cooked dinner together. We slept in the same bed. But there was a distance. A waiting. I started writing again. Full force. The viral post from December had grown legs. People shared it in cancer support groups, on Reddit, in private Facebook groups for survivors. Comments numbered in the thousands. This happened to my brother. His in-laws thought he was faking leukemia for pain meds. My Mael accused me of Munchausen when I had endometriosis. Thank you for this. You're so strong, they don't deserve you. I read every one. Then came the DM from a producer at a major morning news show. Would you be open to telling your story on air? Anonymously, if you prefer. No family names. I stared at the message for days. Alex found me rereading it one night. Do it, he said. I looked up. You sure? They need to see the consequences, not just us, everyone like you. So I said yes. The interview aired in late January. I wore a wig, long, wavy, close to my old hair, professional makeup, a simple black blouse. The host was gentle but direct. Elena, you were diagnosed with cancer, went through treatment, and in the middle of it, your partner's family accused you of faking it for financial gain. Walk us through that moment. I did. I told them about Thanksgiving, about the words, I know you're faking cancer for our money, about pulling out the folder, about the silence. I showed blurred scans with permission from my doctor. I talked about the anonymous messages, the investigator, the trauma that started it all. But I also talked about forgiveness, not having it yet, about boundaries, about how doubt from loved ones can hurt worse than the disease. The segment ended with a graphic. If you or someone you know has experienced medical gaslighting, resources are available. Social media exploded. Tash medical gaslighting trended for 2 days. My inbox filled with stories, thousands of them. I started a private group for survivors who'd been doubted. It grew to 10,000 members in a month. I posted resources, moderated discussions, shared my updates. Alex watched it all with something like awe. You're building something, he said one night. I'm surviving out loud. Then came the backlash. Not from strangers, from them. Richard's lawyers sent a cease and desist. Claimed I was defaming the family, implied I was exploiting my illness for fame and profit. Demanded I take down the blog, the interview, everything. Alex read the letter and laughed. Actually laughed. They're scared, he said. He called a lawyer friend. We countersued, not for money, for harassment, emotional distress, invasion of privacy via the illegal records. We had the proof, all of it. The USB recordings, the messages, the investigator's report. Claire testified in a deposition, voluntarily. Said her father had pressured everyone, that he'd threatened to cut Alex out of the trust if he didn't handle the situation. Ryan sent a drunken apology voicemail that we saved. Even Diane wrote a second letter, this one to our lawyer, admitting fault, begging for settlement, no public apology. But in writing, admitting wrongdoing, we didn't settle, we pushed forward. Because it wasn't about money anymore. It was about accountability. The story hit local news, then national tabloids. Millionaire family accuses cancer survivor fiancé of faking illness. The hotels started getting reviews. 1 star. This company's owners harassed a cancer patient, would never stay here knowing how they treat people. Reservations dropped. Richard's name trended for all the wrong reasons. That's when Alex made his move. He filed to force the buyout of his share. Legal, clean, years in the making. His siblings didn't fight it. Claire even voted in favor. Richard raged, but he couldn't stop it. Alex walked away with enough to start over. No strings. We bought a small house in the suburbs, nothing fancy, just ours. I kept writing, turned the blog into a newsletter, started speaking at survivor events, got offers for a book deal, said yes. The tide had turned completely. Spring came early that year. Cherry blossoms bloomed while snow still lingered in shadows. My hair was shoulder length now. Curly, wild, mine. The lawsuit settled in April. Not a huge amount, but enough. And, most importantly, a public statement. The family released it through their PR firm. We deeply regret the pain caused to Elena Thompson during her cancer treatment. Accusations made were unfounded and born of past trauma. We take full responsibility and wish Ms. Thompson continued health and happiness. No names attached, but everyone knew. Richard never signed it personally. Diane did. Claire did. Even Ryan. Alex read it and shrugged. It's something. It was. More than I expected. Less than I deserved. But enough. The hotels rebranded quietly. Richard stepped back from day to day. Claire took over more responsibility. She texted me once. Dad's in therapy, finally. Thank you for forcing us to look in the mirror. I didn't reply. But I didn't block her either. One night in May, Alex and I were on our new back porch. Fireflies starting to appear. He turned to me. I want to propose again. I raised an eyebrow. Properly this time. No family drama, no cancer shadow, just us. He got down on one knee. Same ring, cleaned, resized. Elena Marie Thompson, you are the strongest, kindest, most terrifyingly badass person I've ever known. I want to spend the rest of my life earning back your trust. Will you marry me? Again? I cried. Ugly tears. Yes, I said. But on one condition. Anything. Small wedding. My family. Our friends. No hotel empire required. He laughed through his own tears. Deal. We set a date for fall. Intimate. Backyard. 50 people max. My mom planned the food. Mia was maid of honor. Alex's best friend from college stood up for him. No one from his family was invited, not yet. Maybe not ever. But then, 2 weeks before the wedding, a letter came. Handwritten, from Richard. I opened it with Alex beside me. It was long. He wrote about the scam that almost destroyed him. It talked about meeting Diane and rebuilding, about the fear that never left, about watching his son almost lose the woman he loved because of that fear, about realizing too late that he'd become the villain. He apologized, directly. To me. To Alex. He wrote that he'd sold his share of the original hotel, the flagship one, to a charity that supports cancer patients with medical debt. Anonymously. But he wanted us to know. He ended with, I don't expect an invitation or forgiveness. I just needed you both to know I'm trying to be better. Because you deserve that. Alex read it twice, then folded it carefully. What do you think? He asked. I thought about it. About the silence after I showed the scans. About the messages. About the proof folder I still kept in a safe. About the woman I'd become because of all of it. I think, I said slowly, people can change sometimes. We didn't invite him to the wedding, but Alex called him, told him about the charity donation, thanked him, said we're not there yet, but maybe someday. Richard cried on the phone. Alex did too. Healing isn't linear, but it's possible. The wedding was perfect. String lights. My dad walked me down the aisle, healthy now, after his own scare. I wore a simple white dress. Alex cried when he saw me. We wrote our own vows. I promised to fight for us. He promised to always believe me. First, always. We danced under the stars, my family loud and laughing, our friends toasting too much. No drama, no accusations, just love. But one last secret remained. Something I hadn't told anyone. Not even Alex, not yet. Because in the middle of all the chaos, the accusations, the proof, the silence, I'd made a decision. One that would change everything. Again. The wedding came and went like a dream you don't want to wake from. October light, golden and soft. Our backyard filled with laughter, music, and the smell of wood smoke from the fire pit. My mom danced with Alex's college friends. My little brother gave a toast that had everyone crying and laughing at the same time. Mia caught the bouquet and immediately threatened to burn it. We didn't take a big honeymoon, just a long weekend in a cabin up north, phones off, lake quiet, leaves falling like confetti. We talked. We didn't talk. We made love slowly, carefully, like we were learning each other all over again. When we came home, life settled into something new. Alex started a small consulting firm, helping independent hotels with branding and tech. No family money, no trust strings, just his brain and his hustle. I kept writing. The book deal turned into a real contract. I wrote the story, our story, with names changed, but every raw detail intact. The proposal, the diagnosis, the accusation, the proof, the silence, the fight, the healing. It came out the following spring. Titled, Look at This One Thing. It hit bestseller lists, not because it was perfectly written, because it was true. And people needed to hear it. Speaking gigs followed, survivor conferences, women's health summits, book tours. I told the story over and over, but every time it felt a little lighter, like I was giving the pain away, piece by piece. Alex came with me when he could. Sat in the audience, smiled when I caught his eye during the part about the second proposal. We started trying for a baby, not right away. We waited until my 2-year scans were clear, until therapy felt like maintenance, not emergency, until we could talk about the past without flinching. The first try didn't take. The second didn't either. The third brought 2 pink lines. I stared at the test in our bathroom, heart pounding in a way it hadn't since the diagnosis day. Alex was in the kitchen making coffee. I walked out, holding it behind my back. "Hey," I said. "Remember that one last secret I mentioned?" He turned, smiling. "Yeah," I held up the test. His face went through every emotion at once. Then he dropped the coffee mug. It shattered on the floor, but neither of us cared. He crossed the room in 2 steps and lifted me off the ground. We cried, we laughed, we called my mom. We didn't call his parents, not yet. The pregnancy was textbook at first. Then, at 20 weeks, a small scare, some bleeding, an emergency ultrasound. I lay on the table, holding Alex's hand so tight I left marks, waiting for the technician to say something. She did. "It's twins." We stared at the screen. 2 heartbeats. 2 tiny humans. Alex whispered, "Holy shit," and then apologized to the technician. We laughed until we cried again. That's when we decided it was time. Alex called his parents, put it on speaker. Diane answered on the second ring. "Alex? Hi, Mom." Long pause. Then softly, "Hi, sweetheart." He told them about the book, about the business, about the wedding they weren't invited to, about the babies. Diane cried quietly. Richard got on the line. His voice was older, rougher. "Congratulations," he said. "No excuses, no justifications, just that." Alex said, "We're not ready for visits, not yet, but we wanted you to know." Richard cleared his throat. "Whenever you're ready, we'll be here." Diane added, "We're proud of you both and grateful for the second chance you didn't have to give us." They didn't push. We hung up. Alex looked at me. "That enough for now?" I nodded. "Healing isn't a moment. It's 1,000 small ones." The twins came in late summer, 2 girls, Isabella and Nora, healthy, loud, perfect. We brought them home to the house we'd painted ourselves, the one with the big backyard and the fire pit where we'd gotten married. My family descended like a joyful hurricane. Mia moved in for a month to help. Alex took paternity leave and barely left the house. We didn't sleep. We didn't care. One afternoon, when the girls were 3 months old, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, 2 handmade quilts, soft pastels, one embroidered with Isabella in tiny stitches, the other Nora, and a note in Diane's handwriting. "We asked your mom for the names. Hope that's okay. A grandmother made these. She learned from her grandmother. We thought your girls might like something that lasts." Nothing else. No request for photos, no guilt trip. Just the quilts. I held them to my face. They smelled like lavender and new fabric. I showed Alex. He ran his fingers over the stitches. Then he took a photo of the quilts draped over the cribs, sent it to his mom, with one line, "They're beautiful. Thank you." She replied instantly. 2 heart emojis, nothing more. We left it there, for now. The book toured again, a paperback release. I spoke to bigger crowds. Shared the update, the twins, the quilts, the slow thaw. People asked if I'd forgiven them. I said, "I've released them. That's different, and it's enough." I started a foundation with book proceeds, medical debt relief for young cancer patients. Called it One Thing, a nod to the moment that changed everything. It grew, fast. Donations poured in, including one anonymous gift. Large, from a trust in Winnetka. We knew, but we didn't call. Just accepted it, and helped more people. Years passed. The girls grew, curly hair like mine, eyes like Alex's. They learned to walk in the backyard where we'd said our vows. They called my mom Nana and fought over who got to sit in her lap. One spring day when they were 4, Alex came home from work and found me in the kitchen. "What's that look?" he asked. I handed him an envelope. Inside, a plane ticket, and a letter from Claire. An invitation, a family weekend at the old hotel, the one Richard had sold to charity. Now a retreat center for cancer families. Claire wrote, "Dad's on the board. Quietly, Mom teaches a quilting class for patients. We'd love for you to come as speakers, or just as family. No pressure, but the girls might like the lake." Alex read it twice, looked at me. "What do you think?" I thought about the folder of proof, still in the safe but untouched for years. About the scans that saved my life. About the silence that taught me my worth. About the quilts on the girls' beds. About the man standing in front of me who'd chosen me over and over. I smiled. "I think it's time." We went. Not for them. For us. For the girls to know where their dad came from. For closure. Or maybe a new beginning. Richard met us at the door. Older now, grayer. He knelt down to the girls' level. "Hi," he said softly. "I'm your grandpa, Richard." Isabella hid behind my leg. Nora stared boldly. "You have boats?" she asked. He smiled, real crinkly-eyed. "The best boats." Diane hugged me carefully, like I might still break, but I didn't. I hugged back. We spent the weekend on the lake. The girls swam. Alex and his dad fished, quiet, no big talks, just casting lines. Diane taught me a quilt stitch. Claire pushed the girls on swings. No one mentioned the past, not once. On the last night, Richard found me on the dock, stars out, water lapping. He stood beside me, didn't speak for a long time. Then, "I was wrong." I nodded. "I know." "I'm sorry. I know that too." He took a breath. "Thank you for giving me them." He nodded toward the house where Alex was reading the girls a bedtime story. I smiled. "We didn't do it for you." "I know." We stood there, quiet. The same kind of silence as Thanksgiving years ago, but different now. Not stunned, peaceful. When we left, the girls waved from the back seat. "Bye, Grandpa. Bye, Grandma," Diane cried. Richard waved until we were out of sight. We didn't promise next month or next year, but we didn't close the door either. Life moved on. The foundation grew. The girls started school. Alex's business thrived. I wrote another book, this one about motherhood after trauma, about joy after pain, about choosing love even when it hurts. And on hard days, when scans loomed, when old fears crept in, I'd open the safe, pull out the folder, look at the scans, the proof, the one thing that saved me, and I'd whisper to it, "Thank you." Then I'd close it, put it away, and go kiss my daughters goodnight, because the story wasn't about the accusation anymore. It was about what came after, the life I built, the love I kept, the proof that I was always, always real, and always enough.